Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Now, for those of you who are wondering why you don't hear anything coming out of this microphone, to remind you that the microphone is for the benefit of the folks on the live stream. Because if I'm like this, they can't hear me. You can hear me, but they can't hear me. So, it looks weird and it sounds weird, but there's a reason for the madness. Well, welcome to March 1st Friday, otherwise known as the first day of spring, it feels like. Not really, but we're all happy with a little break in the weather pattern we've seen, and we have some very special guests today. I think you are going to get a lot out of the presentation and the conversation, and hopefully you will see how it fits with a lot of the things that you are working on and that we are working on as part of the ADE team. So, but first, we always want to start with our recognition. And the first thing we want to do is recognize today as being Read Across America Day. It fits very well with our RISE initiative. This Read Across America Day has been going on for a number of years, and also coincides with Dr. Seuss's birthday. And at 10 o'clock, there's going to be a celebration of that in the rotunda. A number of people coming over and reading to students that I think are coming in from Cabot. And we have a whole bunch of folks. So if you see a mass exodus during the meeting, it's not that you've said anything wrong or run them off, okay? They have a task, and they're going over to read to some kids. They're also not just at the Capitol, but at schools all across the state. So a number of our team members are going to be going to schools and reading at the schools too. So let's move on quickly to our special recognition and honors. And we have a special guest with us today, along with Mr. Montgomery. So Mr. Mike Mertens is here as well from AAEA. So gentlemen, if y'all would come on up, and Terry, if you would come on up with them, we want to recognize a very special award today.
Thank you, Commissioner, and good morning, everyone. As Mike Mertens and Terry Granderson make their way up here, I got a slight. I got to fess up. I told Terry yesterday. I said I need you at First Friday tomorrow morning because I'm going to announce your retirement. And of course, Terry has indicated that he will be retiring in August, and I told him that I'd have you up there for a brief presentation. But I wanted to say a few words before I turn the microphone over to Mike Mertens. In February of 16, I came to work for ADE, and I had no idea, the staff and the work that the division really does. When I was out in the district, I worked with the division from a distance, but I was so hopeful that Terry Granderson would stay on board and aid in my transition so that I would be able to perform better for the division and, of course, for the schools in Arkansas. Terry tells some great stories. When he first came to the division, it was essentially 2 people for facilities. And then the division plussed up to about 31 authorized positions, and he has helped put this team together. He's helped build the resources and the supports that we provide to school districts. Many of you are familiar with School Dude. Every district in Arkansas uses the School Dude work order management system. That was because of Terry Granderson, and our facilities are much better maintained as a result of that. So I just wanted to say that up front, and then I'll pass the microphone over to Mike Mertens.
Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Commissioner Key. Good morning. I'm wearing a little different hat than what you normally see me today. I am from AAEA, but I'm representing ASPMA today, and that's the Arkansas School Plant Managers Association, which is one of the affiliate groups under the AAEA umbrella. I'm also representing NSPMA, which is the National School Plant Managers Association. I'm on the executive board of NSPMA. I'm the immediate past president, and that truly is a national organization. Since I've been involved in NSPMA, I've met facility managers all the way from Maine to California. And they have an award that they present. It's not a yearly award. It's kind of a lifetime Achievement Award. It's called the Pat Cochran Memorial Award. And I know none of you know Pat Cochran, but he was a former board member of the National School Plant Management Association. And he always challenged the National Association to look ahead, to have a vision for growing the association, and for the emphasis needs to be on training and outreach, and trying to provide quality professional development for facility managers across the state. So the award is given to someone who exhibits leadership skills, passion, and a vision for K-12 facilities in the United States. And since, again, it's not a yearly award, since I've been involved in NSPMA, I think about 6 years, we've only given, this will be our second award that we've given. And of course we have Terry up here because Terry's going to be the recipient of this award. But I want to add a few other things. Now, you all know what Terry does with the division, but he also serves on the board in an advisory capacity for the ASPMA. And probably 6 years ago now, our school business officials group, some of you are very familiar with those, they talked a little bit about how the school business officials group was originally had been set up when AAEA was formed. A school business member of the school business officials was any administrator that wasn't a superintendent or a high school principal or an elementary principal. But over the years, as AAEA has grown, the school business officials has gravitated more to school finance. So that board was talking about doing some type of outreach to facility managers, to those business officials that weren't really involved in finance, they were involved in support services. They wanted to set up some classes. So I turned to Terry and talked to him about that. And he said, well, you know, ASPMA, which at that time wasn't affiliated with AAEA, they've also talked about that. So to make a long story short, ASPMA affiliated with AAEA. We now have a certification program for facility managers. It's voluntary, but since that program started in 2012, we have over half of the school districts that have certified facility directors, which is pretty good for a voluntary program. We still have some outreach to do. But the person who worked behind the scenes to look at what other states were doing with facility certification program. Now, all of you know we live in a rural state. We have some school districts that may have an assistant superintendent in charge of support services, but a lot of our facility managers may be a working maintenance supervisor that may supervise one other person or two other people. So we had to look at a unique training program to meet the needs of people in Arkansas. And Terry was very instrumental in getting that started. I'll be honest with you, I really didn't know where to start. And Terry said, well, we've got to look at what other states are doing and try to take the, what is good for Arkansas, the best from those other states. And I think we've done a pretty good job. There's always room for improvement as things evolve. So that's part of what Terry has done over the years that you may not be aware of. And also, at a national level, I've been to surrounding states to talk to some of facility managers in other states about our facility, the partnership program, and about the use of school dude. Arkansas leads the nation when it comes to the number of work orders that are preventive work orders rather than emergency work orders. It used to be you didn't fix it until what? Till it broke. Now we're doing a lot better job at preventive maintenance. We lead the nation in that. And the number of emergency work orders in public schools since the initiation of the computerized system has dropped dramatically. And even though at the beginning of it we had a rise in work orders, now we see a decrease in work orders. So preventive maintenance really does work. So with all that being said, I do want to, I have a plaque for you, Terry, and it says, presented to Terry Granderson, Arkansas, for visionary leadership and a passion for K-12 facilities and school plant management across the nation, presented March 2018. Congratulations.
Same facilities.
Feed. I'm not very good at this, but I want to say thank you. Mike made it sound like I did it all by myself, but I have a very good staff, and I would like for other members of our division who are in the back here to stand up and be recognized. We got two more back here. I have been through 4 directors, starting with Dave Floyd. Some of you may still remember Dave. Doug Eaton, and who could forget him? Then it was Dr. Stein, and that's Brad. And I served 7 years, 7 months, it seemed like 7 years, as interim, but I'm glad that Brad got it instead of me. Anyway, I want to say thank you. I did not do this by myself. I have a very dedicated staff, and many of our people are officed outside this building. When we started that, I think Tony Wood was the director or commissioner at the time, and they were doing away with people working in remote offices. Well, we got special permission because we needed to be in the areas where we were working. And the first year when we assigned areas outside, we cut our TR1 expenses in half by working out in the field. Plus our production went up on the number of inspections. I've been involved with the school dude system since 2007. And we're going back again this year and be my last one, but it's been a very good learning experience for me. I came from the health department after 12 years over there, and I will say this is the best job I have ever had. And I've worked with some of the best people that can possibly exist. And I want to thank all of you for the job that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, gentlemen, and Terry, congratulations. Very well deserved. And I hope y'all picked up on what I picked up on when Mr. Mertens was talking about, what did he say? Lead the nation. So, why do we do this? Why do we have First Friday? Why do we have SPM? Why are we doing this? And why are we looking at things in a system approach? If we're leading the nation, if we're going to lead the nation in student-focused education, we have to lead the nation in providing facilities, educational facilities that do that, and the leadership that we've had here at the state level and the cooperation that we've had through our partners at the school level and the district level has been fantastic. We should be very proud. Terry, I can't think of any more deserving of this nationwide honor than you, sir. So thank you very much for your dedication to this cause. Let's move on then to the next. Let's see. There it is. I lose these things, and a lot of times they're just in my pocket. Anthony is not here, I don't think. I haven't seen him. but we do want to announce that Anthony Owen was reelected to serve on the Computer Science Teachers Association Board of Directors, nationwide organization. It recognizes the work that he has done with respect to moving computer science education, moving Arkansas up, and really leading the nation once again. So let's join together and congratulate Anthony, give him a round of applause. Okay, Ms. Kaufman, I'm going to turn it over to you for the next few announcements.
Thank you. I picked a really good day to recognize Dr. Denise Arola. She's not with us today, so I hope she's watching. But Dr. Denise Arola is just a true asset to our state, because not only does she run all of our data for us, but she works with almost every division here in the agency. But she's just been so helpful in helping us to transition over to ESSA, to get all of our reports out, to run all the models, to help us make decisions. And her team is just exceptional. And not only are they doing that, but they're doing innovations in education. So they do so many things. So we'll recognize her today, and then we'll probably recognize her again and again because her work is ongoing. So thank you, Dr. Arola. I don't know if you know this, but we have a radio superstar in our midst. SPM, all together. So she's in charge of the alphabet in our division, and she's the glue that's holding it all together. The exciting thing is, as a result of her work of holding it all together, we're all developing a deeper and deeper understanding. So, LaDonna Spain, stand up on your good leg there. Yes. And then finally, I want to recognize two often undermentioned but and overworked, but just amazing people. Michaela Moore. Is she in the room? There she is, over there behind the computer. And Miss Brenda Winkler. Where's Miss Brenda? She in here? She's working, of course. This sounds so small in the bigger day, but it's everything. Our Standards for Accreditation team is in the midst of working the Standards for Accreditation process. And we have new members that joined that team most recently. And people need 2 monitors to be able to do this job. And these ladies just dropped what they were doing. They went around the building. They found them. They took them off desk, my desk, Michaela's desk. They took them from everywhere. And that's the kind of attitude and work ethic that we really embody when we talk about leadership, support, and service. They stopped what they were doing. They went and helped their colleagues get the job done, and they just did what needed to be done to make it happen. So, Michaela, Brenda, thank you so much for being great models. And I think I have one more before we go on. Oh, no, I don't have a slide. Because they're not here. So, but I did want to give a big shout out to our school improvement team who's been calling or Zooming every school that was previously known as Focus or Priority, kind of like Prince. They've been reaching out to every one of those schools and having private conversations, and now they're on a statewide tour around to co-ops, and we did one Wednesday. They were off to another one on Thursday, and today they're in Arkansas River. And so if you don't see anybody from school improvement for the next month and a half, that's because they're on the road. But they are having such an impact in those school districts, and I'm just happy to report that our school districts are asking the most amazing questions, and it's so exciting.
Right. That's great. Thank you, Deb. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to Stacy for Learning Services.
Thank you. So Dr. Stein is not here either. She's actually at this conference receiving this award, but she's at the Arkansas Gifted and Talented conference, and she's received the Martha Ann Jones Norton Service Award, and that was being elected by her peers, and so that's a really big deal. She was actually at the conference presenting this week, so we're very proud of her. Also want to recognize, I don't have slides for these, but I want to recognize that we have had some state honors here lately. We've had Ann Finch and Michelle Snyder, Kathy Mackey, and Sherry Thorne actually went to Miami and presented on formative assessment that's been embedded in our professional development with science. And Arkansas was recognized for being a leader in that area, and that was because of that group. And so I'm very proud of them. In fact, Margaret Heritage, who is a nationally known for formative assessment, was on an INL webinar the other day, and Hope was on it listening to something else, and they were talking about Arkansas. And so I thought that was really good. And Hope actually was a presenter for Arkansas at the TILSA conference as well. So we've had some national recognition from those people. So thank you for all the work that you guys do.
Okay, so before we bring up our presenters, I do want to acknowledge we have some other special guests, our colleagues from ACE, from the Department of Arkansas Career Education, back here, Kathy Turner and her team. We appreciate y'all being here. And why are they here? Because this next group you're going to hear from, it embodies what we're talking about with a well-rounded education where career ed and Department of Ed work together to provide these opportunities, and the school district providing opportunities for these students to get themselves ready to be successful when they get beyond high school. And Paul Vitale is going to come up here. Many of you may have heard him present. I think the first time I heard you present, Paul, was at the 21st Century Conference a couple of years ago, and thankfully he went after me, that I didn't have to follow his remarks. So he is a dynamic, nationally recognized speaker from here in Arkansas. Has been doing great work with the school there at Pangburn, and I'm going to ask them to come on up and give us their presentation.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right. So thank you. Get that set. That's going to search. So I'll get rolling, and then we'll get rolling. Start, okay? You feel good? All right. Very good. There it is. Wonderful. Okay, very good. And just one moment, we'll just make sure our technology is on tap, which I think we're in great shape. Commissioner Key and to your department, just a couple things before we get into this presentation. First of all, I want to say thank you. And you'll see the commitment from Pangburn and these bright minds, but as an Arkansan, I've never had the privilege to step foot in this venue, and Deputy Director Turner's in the back, and I'm going to get to her in a moment, but You know, my mother was a retired school teacher. I grew up in Russellville, and many of you who heard me speak before, you know that. But she and my dad, they're down in New Orleans today, and she called me early this morning. And, hey, what are you doing today? And I said, well, I'm going to have the privilege to say a few words at the Department of Education. And as a retired school teacher, that's a pretty big deal. So she prepped me for today. And I said, Mom, I really need to go. Nope, a few more things. So then I took my daughter to school. Sophia's 7, and she goes to Chenal Elementary. And as a parent and as a son of a retired school teacher, I just want to say thank you for what you do for Arkansas. I'm a very proud Arkansan, and to have the privilege over the last 2 years to work with Pangburn. Yes, I had the chance to travel and see the world, but I have learned more from these students and from these administrators, and it is so much fun that maybe one day I might become a teacher, because I will tell you, it has been a ball. So, Commissioner, to you and your department and what you do for Arkansas, thank you. Because it matters and it's noticeable, and when we're out there just banging the drum, it's nice to know we can come home and see the commitment. It's very noticeable, so thank you for that. So just a couple things. I'm going to introduce this program, then I'm going to sit down. Peak Performance U, let me give you a little background. This is going to take about 7 to 9 minutes, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Rowland. 2 years ago, Mr. Rowland and a few of his administrators ended up in Deputy Director Turner's office, and they asked me to join them, and we started talking about some sort of online program that would address soft skills and or essential skills for the workplace. So, you know, it was one of those ongoing conversations. You meet, and I think we had great intentions, but I don't know. You know, what do I know? I'm just sitting here thinking this is a great idea, but I have no idea how to implement this. So over time, we began to structure a program that seemed to have some legs. So 24 months later, we're sitting here with this concept of Peak Performance U, and what I want to do is I want to introduce this simple program to you, and then we'll get into some specifics with the class of interns as well as the administration from Pangburn. As we started building this program, we knew we were going to have partners, and we knew that we couldn't do it by ourselves. So me and 2 others with my company, we started to come together as writers on this curriculum, and then we started to collaborate. Collaboration. That's what everybody tells us we need in this great state. Collaboration. We started collaborating with Pangburn, with Wilbur D. Mills Educational Cooperative, as well as Sharp Hugh, which is an organization based out of Fayetteville, and they're the individuals who built the LMS for this program. So we started to collaborate with them and with the Arkansas Department of Career Education and Ms. Turner's group, and this became a very unified force to try to get something up and running on an online course. Now, as a writer, as a speaker, as one who's written a few books, let me tell you, I've never done an online course, and I had no idea what an LMS was, as many can attest to it. That's way over what I do. So when it comes to technology, people said, Paul, you just write it and we'll figure out the rest, and that's kind of what happened. So without the partners, we wouldn't be here today. And that's a great example of collaboration. So let me kind of dive into the very first group of interns from last year. I'll set the stage for PPU, and then we'll move on. So as we were collaborating on the content for this program, Mr. Rowland and I had a conversation. And we said, hey, why don't we have a group of interns from Pangburn? Why don't we select some students as interns? And why don't they help you not only write some of this curriculum, but we knew we wanted this to be video driven. And so why don't they help us interview some Arkansans who could play a significant role in this program? So we had our first group of interns last year from Pangburn, and they did an outstanding job. We traveled Arkansas. They had the privilege to sit down and interview individuals. It was really magical. So I got to stop right here because it just entered my mind. So I'm going to go off script for a minute, so just bear with me. To my intern class, okay? We're always doing teachable moments, right? So you know how important it's been networking, okay? And I'm going to pull all this together. Commissioner Key and I, we were at a local restaurant 6 weeks ago. And I saw the commissioner walk in, and I believe you were meeting either family or friends. And I was with my colleague, Miss Pam, and I said, Commissioner Key is here. So Pam said, first thing, well, you need to go over and speak to him. That's what colleagues do. So we finished up dinner, and I walked over and reintroduced myself to the commissioner, and we had about a 5-minute exchange. And this is what happened in the 5 minutes. The commissioner said, hey, why don't you come to one of our first Fridays and present on Peak Performance U? And I said, boy, that would be a great honor. Now, teachable moment. That's called networking, okay? If I had not walked over and taken the initiative to reintroduce myself, okay, we might not be here at this moment. And if the commissioner wasn't gracious enough to offer this, we might not be here at this moment. My point is this is what we talk about, the importance of networking and collaboration. All right, so this is what we're teaching in PPU, and that's a great example of teaching our young people these essential skills to the workplace. All right, we'll get back on track. So these were some pictures of the first intern class. This is intern class number 2, so let me go ahead and move on. So I'll set this up for a moment. Okay, 9 essential skills to the workplace. So Peak Performance U has 9 units consisting of 81 lessons. And when I had the opportunity to sit down with Deputy Director Turner's group and we started to really collaborate on where this information should come from, we talked about the content from the regional advisory boards and councils, and it was interesting because we learned that these were the essential skills that needed to be a part of PPU. So this is a foundation that really comes from various businesses and industries who said, hey, throughout Arkansas, this is what we need for our young people. So that's where all of this took root, and this is really where the essential skills, the 81 lessons in the 9 units were born. So just know that this is a robust curriculum, and most of you should have access to a handout that was passed out with just some basic talking points and just good content that presents this overview, and you'll get a good feel for this. So let me continue, and I'll go one step further. Peak Performance U, it is very interactive. We're proud of that. It delivers thought-provoking content, and it's reinforced by in-depth video. So Suzanne, we had this conversation, and you taught me something, and I use it all the time, so I'm going to give you credit. You said students would come up to you and say, hey, don't tell me, show me. So I'd never been a videographer before until now, and you learn how to take a camera out and capture a lot on video. And that's what we did. This particular program has 150 videos in it that speak to these essential skills. I just want to share one stat, and for those in the back, if you can't see this, just focus on the voice for a moment. 70% of high school graduates wish they had spent more time preparing for the real world while they were still in high school. When we hear statistics like that, we know, once again, the importance of this type of program. So let me go one step further with the program. 9 units, which I'm going to show you an example of a unit here in a moment, and then my remarks will conclude. But we have 150 in-depth videos, we have journal prompts, we have real-life scenarios, we have activities, we have discussion boards. This LMS has definitely taught me how to expand my mind. I think we have a good start here when it comes to the content of a program that challenges our young people. If you look, Unit 1 through 9, we talk a lot about work ethic, human dignity, connectivity, business etiquette, being able to collaborate, becoming intentional planners, transitioning with confidence, dispelling entitlement, and then computer and digital literacy. This is the 9 units that make up the 81 lessons. And so far, Pangburn has demonstrated that there is great value in this particular online course. So let me do this since we have a moment, and then I'll turn this over to Mr. Rowland. I would like to show you, we felt like this was important, and as this is pulling up, I want you to know I was in Pangburn 3 times this week. And this group has prepped for 3 days. And prior to that, I'm sure they were prepping. But we've worked at this because we wanted this to be a good representation of the potential for PPU. So let me sign in just momentarily. So if you would, and this is just a simple overview so you can get a feel for Peak Performance U. I'm going to bypass the dashboard for a moment. Just so you know, and just because of time I won't show it, but this video that's here, it's a video all about Arkansas. And when we pulled this together, I'll tell you how far we went with this video. The gentleman who wrote the lyrics is from Bono, Arkansas. And he and I were dear friends in advertising years ago, and I said, Chuck, I need a great song that represents Arkansas with all of the footage. And sure enough, he wrote a song, and he's an Arkansan. So I'm really proud of the fact that this has a very good Arkansas feel, and it's just, there's a lot of tie-in here. So the students have the chance to have an introductory video, but I just wanted to show you one example of the 9 units. I'm going to go to Unit 1, and you know, the very first lesson in Unit 1 is attendance and timeliness. So again, I refer back to Miss Kathy and her group, Miss Turner and her group. We talked about specifics and what these advisory boards were hearing, and it was, you know, our kids aren't showing up. And if they do, they're not on time, and you know, they don't know how to collaborate, and we can't pass drug tests, and you know, we've got to hit them hard right here. So the very first lesson in Unit 1 is attendance and timeliness. So let me just kind of demonstrate for a moment what every student, what he or she goes through when they work through a lesson and what they can anticipate. Just so you know, as an FYI, each lesson has an overview objective naturally, and then a subject which has vocabulary that's tied into that particular subject, and a nice overview of what the students can be ready for and what they can anticipate. And then we have a lesson quote that ties in to the tasks. Each lesson has at least 5 tasks that tie in for the students to work from video worksheets to journal prompts to quotation essays, etc. And then this is probably what's most exciting for me. We have a dashboard, a discussion board where students can interact, they can collaborate. Naturally, teachers have to approve what's posted, and they can always pull down something if they're not pleased with it. So they have control of this. And then we have additional resources, and then we have the videos. In this particular lesson, there's a primary lesson video, and then there's 1 activity, 2 activity, 3, and I think there's 4. Okay, 3 additional activity videos. So this is video heavy. I'll go one step further. For the last couple years, while Peak Performance U was being born, I was given the privilege to begin to do a lot of work in sports. So at that time, we were gathering content from the National Football League. Now, I realized that this past year, the NFL had an interesting year, and I get that. But at the end of the day, our young people are still somewhat encouraged and inspired by professional sports. So I say that to say that throughout this particular program, there are a number of professional athletes, active players, coaches, front office staff from the National Football League office in New York who participated through interviews. So I'm just going to show one example. This gentleman is Matt Burke. This is the very first video, and I just wanted to kind of give you an idea. And you know, I say that. Let's see here. Let me look at sound here. Do you think we'll run it through the... You think so? We're going to cross our fingers and let's see. We're anticipating. Let's see this. Shouldn't be sound yet.
Once said to me that at some level talent is cheap. Could you explain to the audience a little bit more about that simple concept? Well, I'm trying to go back to these fundamentals.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and scratch that because I don't know if you'll be able to hear that. So just know there's a video. How about that? There's 150 of them, so just know that. So it's video heavy on purpose because we want the young people to feel as though they are a bit entertained, but that there's really content there that can grab them versus them just reading and trying to digest the information. So that's a great example of a lesson. Again, there's 81 lessons in the 9 units in PPU. So with that, I'm going to turn over the program now to Mr. Rowland. He's the superintendent at Pangburn. And David, before you step up here, Again, I want to thank you and your administrators for the commitment that you've had for this particular program. I think it's been a journey, but I think we're making some headway. So this is David Rowland. Here you go, sir. And I'll take that. You want to? Yep. Let's do this right here. If you just want to hold that.
Okay, is it on?
Yes, sir, it's on. We're good. And I'm just speaking through there. You got it.
All right, my name is David Rowland, and I have 20 years in education. This is my first year as the superintendent of the Payne School District. Prior to this year, I spent 11 years as the high school principal. And I guess my journey with this concept began about 2 years ago when 3 events kind of happened at the same time. One, we had Paul Vitale come speak at our school, and that was totally by accident. Another school had to cancel his event that had been paid for by our co-op, and so our co-op director called me and asked me if I'd like to have him come speak at our school, and I said, yeah, we will do that. So he came and spoke, and I had a group of girls who were juniors that year who came to me after the presentation and said, we want to do something different with our school. We want to be something different. So that was one piece of information that was going on. The second piece, Kathy Turner, who has been very instrumental in our program here, had scheduled a regional meeting with school leaders and business leaders, and I had attended that meeting, and what I heard from that meeting not only shocked me, but embarrassed me as an administrator. These business leaders, when they got up and started talking about what they needed to fill the positions, the jobs, they did not talk about literacy skills. They did not talk about math skills, and those things are very important. I'm not downplaying that at all. They didn't even talk about computer science, which is also very important. Leader after leader of businesses came up there and said, we cannot get people to show up on time. We cannot get people to pass drug tests. We can't get people to take responsibility for their actions. We can't get people to respect their bosses. That's what they talked about. And the third event that happened about this same time was my agri teacher came to me, and he said that there was a gentleman who owned a fabrication welding company, and he wanted to meet with me and him at some point. So we set up a meeting with this gentleman. He owns a company, and he came to me and said, Mr. Rowland, I have went through 40 employees this year. I'm a small business, but I've went through 40 employees, and I just this week fired my best welder. He goes, he was a 24-year-old gentleman who in the last month has missed work 8 times, or has left early, or called me this morning and said, I couldn't get my car to start, so I'm not coming to work. No personal responsibility. So he said, Mr. Rowland, what I would like to do, last year I hired 2 of your kids who came to work for me, and they're getting better. We've been working with them, but I had a conversation with those 2 kids, and they talked about how the agri teacher had high expectations for his shop, and if they didn't follow those expectations, they didn't get to participate. So he said those kids have been to work on time, they're respectful. So what I'm proposing is we work 4 days a week, 10 hours a day, and we're off every Friday. I would like to volunteer my time on Fridays to come to your school and work with some kids and teach them the skills I need for them to have to be successful at my business. Okay, so what that told me as a principal was those character qualities were more important to that business owner, and he would teach the kids the skills than the skill set that the gentleman had without the characteristic traits. That gentleman that was terminated at that business probably went to a school or technical school and learned how to weld. But somewhere down the road, what he wasn't taught or what he didn't learn is how to be responsible. And if we truly want to lead the nation, we have to have high academic standards. We have to have computer science skills. We know how the workplace is going to change over the next couple of decades. We've got to have highly trained people. And if we want to lead the nation, we have to combine those things with what we're talking about today. The idea of personal responsibility, the ideas of peak performance U. So if I can go on to my next slide. I had a strategic plan with our high school and high school staff, and we talked about what do we want our high school kids to gain. And these are the things you would probably find in most high schools. You definitely want scores, high test scores, ACT Aspire. There's all kinds of research about how ACT scores are important. The more times kids take the ACT, the more success they have, the better they do in college. Those are very important. We also want to create a safe, inclusive learning environment. And that is through talking about mental health. Could you slip back to that? Okay. Through mental health, do kids feel safe at school? Are you controlling bullying? Are you just creating a safe environment that can protect against teen suicide and things like that? Number 3, develop the soft skills, characters needed for success. We talked about the emphasis on STEM and computer science, a great initiative. If we can combine that initiative with the initiative I think we're presenting, we're going to have a successful workforce. Increase career certifications and internship opportunities, strengthen community involvement for students, and ensure students graduate with a plan for success. So if we could go to the next slide. What are some challenges that we're dealing with in Payneburn, probably that other schools are dealing with as well? Of course, on the forefront of everyone's mind right now is safety, mental health. How do you handle issues involving school safety, trying to help students that are troubled? How do you help students that are bullied? How do you help kids that bully? How do you help kids that are cutting or contemplating suicide? How do you help things like that? And if I look through our peak performance curriculum, there's a whole category revolving around human dignity, around respect for yourself, respect for others. These are things that many of us were taught at home. And those opportunities are not in all our students' home lives. So we need to really emphasize these things. Then I think about post-secondary success. We've already talked about basic fundamentals. You have to show up to work on time. You have to pass a drug test. You have to respect your boss. You have to take accountability. But then there's also advanced fundamentals. I'm concerned about the workplace that these students are going to. I'm concerned about artificial intelligence and robotics and jobs disappearing. So we need to teach advanced soft skills such as adaptability, confidence, continuing being a lifelong learner. So those things are also important. And then another thing is to get buy-in from everybody, students, parents, staff, the school board, community, businesses. Why is this important? Why are you teaching these concepts? So we have to get buy-in from students on creating opportunities for them to better themselves to where they are ahead of the game when it comes to being that person that can get that job or that scholarship or whatever the case may be. You've got to get buy-in from your staff. Your staff has to realize that in the 21st century high school, being a mentor, teaching soft skills is as important as your content, if not more so. It's as important as the math curriculum you teach or the sports team that you coach. You have to be this mentor, and that's another thing that we're working on. And then to work with businesses to show them what we're doing and saying, hey, you say these kids don't have these skills, we need you to step up with opportunities for us to get them into places so that they can learn these skills. So if you go on to the next slide, we kind of have a plan of action here. In 2016-17, of course, we went around the state and wrote the course for Peak Performance U. This school year we're finishing vetting the course, making sure it contains the content that we want. We're introducing the ideas of a portfolio and class projects. So, Peak Performance U is a graduation requirement at Payment High School. It is given to every ninth grade student with the idea that we start teaching these skills. But if you teach a class in ninth grade, how much will they remember from that class when they're seniors? They won't remember very much unless you make it impactful and take the next step. So our next step is for them to, after completing the course, is to start developing portfolios that shows competencies in these skills. And the way they do that is through each one of our classes will have a project tied to a soft skill. So every required class that they have to take will have a project tied to a soft skill. They'll also have opportunities through their extracurricular activities. It could be club activities, it could be sports activities. They have other ways to show that they are connecting and understanding what the skills are trying to teach. And then we are also providing career opportunities and certification opportunities and internships, which are additional ways that they can drop artifacts into a portfolio and work on this. We've already begun some industry partnerships, and we're expanding that idea next year. We gave our presentation to the Searcy Chamber of Commerce in October, and after that, the members of the Chamber of Commerce actually came to us and asked us if they could use this in their program to recruit businesses to the area, because they want to show how they are trying to provide the workforce that is going to be that's going to show up and be responsible. And Mr. Colette, our principal, will come to you moments and talk about how it's transformed our culture. And we've also begun a partnership with ASU Heber Springs, which includes more concurrent credits, and the goal there is for students to graduate, some of our students to graduate with that associate's degree or multiple hours so that they are well on their way in college. So next school year, we'll begin the process of the portfolio building. Teachers will align their class projects with PPU lessons. We'll continue to expand our industry partnerships. We'll continue to work on our culture piece, and then continue our partnership and help grow that with ASU Heber. And then we get to the year 2020. With that graduation class, they'll be our first class to come through that'll actually have to defend and present their portfolio to a group upon as part of their graduation requirements. We'll continue to work to strengthen our program and continue to change our overall culture. So that's kind of our plan, but I guess I'll leave in closing by saying that And I hope you hear this from what our students say today and other students at our school, but this has got to be part of our common language. It has to be part of our everyday walk and training for it to be impactful. And that's what Paul has been very beneficial in our school, trying to get this going. But if it's going to make the difference that we want to, we have to keep on keeping on and really push it forward and keep the ball rolling. So now I'm going to ask Mr. Colette to come speak about some of the things going on in the high school at this point. He is the new high school principal, and I'll turn it over to him.
Morning. All right. Commissioner talked about Arkansas wanting to lead the nation. We will lead the nation. But at Payburn, we're wanting to lead the state. And so we're trying to find new ways to change our culture. Okay? So our interns got together and came up with 3 projects that they feel can help with that change using PPU. One is the lunchroom project. Our students practicing networking are walking around, they're meeting new people, they're introducing themselves to students that they don't know, sitting with them, becoming acquainted with them, and growing. And it's helping them with networking and getting to meet people, but it's also helping the student body. Because as they're going and meeting people, some of those students that don't get much recognition, some of those that are feeling invisible, suddenly have a platform to be seen, to be heard. That's important to change our culture. When the meal is over, the interns pick up the trays of everybody at the table, modeling service, and they're taking their trays to the front. And kindness is contagious because other people in the lunchroom start doing the same thing. It's really neat how that works. When lunch is over and everybody goes outside, they go to the pavilion, and then our interns continue this act of inclusion. They find different groups and they'll go right up in the middle of the group and introduce themselves. That's brave. But they're making it happen, because whenever you're networking in the real world, it's kind of scary to walk out there and stick yourself out there. And so, good building for them. And again, including more people. Second project, I love this. The Hall project, the Wall project. Summer calls it the Steps to Success. You'll get to meet her in a second. As they're meeting these people, they're searching for students who are emulating PPU values, the concepts that are being taught. They want to catch somebody in the act of one of these skills. And when they do, they introduce themselves to these people, they talk with them, they interview them, they find out what those skills are, why are those skills important to you. And they take that student's picture and they get a quote from the student and they put it on a poster, and we line our halls with them. When we're done, we're going to have 81 students who may have not got any recognition before that are on our wall. And everybody that comes into our school, it's right there. And everybody that walks up and down those stairs gets to go by, and it's fun to watch everybody stop and they look for their own picture, and they start doing things to get caught. It's changing the culture. This one's my favorite, especially for today. The reading project. The middle school principal, the literacy coach, elementary teachers called over and said, we need some high school students to come in and read to our students. And the interns took this as an opportunity to go sharpen their speaking skills. And so they jumped at this. So they went over and they're reading and teaching reading skills to these young individuals. At the same time, if you look through any high school or middle school or elementary library, most of the books there teach concepts that you can find in PPU. And so they're taking this opportunity as they're reading to teach the PPU values to a younger age, the future of Payneburn. So you've got all these little kids, and they want to talk after you're finished reading. They like to talk, and they ask questions, and it gives our interns a time to discuss why civility is important, the dangers of opioids, and the benefits of sobriety. Integrity, what is it? Why is it important? These projects, I feel, are going to make a difference in the Payneburn community and help us to be a leader in the state. If you know of any other projects that you want to share, we are welcome. Ms. Atkins.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Atkins. I've been in education, CTE education, for over 25 years. A lot of the concepts that they come up with at first are things that in CTE that we address, but not every student takes CTE classes. So with that in mind, I thought this is a great thing. The majority of my family members come from industry, and so anytime we got together, this is what I was hearing. You know anybody that wants a job, that can come to work when they're supposed to, pass a drug test, etc. So I think this was a great idea for us to get on board, and most of you are fellow educators, and you're like, oh, what's this new program? How long is it going to last? We're going to try something new. This is one that I think is great. We are in a small area. Our population of Payneburn is 601. We have no stoplights. We have no Sonics, nothing like that. We're very small, but we're between two big areas. Searcy is 15 miles south. Heber Springs is 15 miles north. So we do have opportunities out there to develop our internship. Our students got a chance to speak to the Searcy Chamber of Commerce in October, like Mr. Rowland had mentioned earlier, and it gave these students an opportunity to get out and network and hopefully show the other students that, hey, this is possible. Most of these students are not public speakers, and as an FBLA advisor, you have to learn to coach these kids. Some of them just want to take a test, some of them want to get out and speak. But I'm very proud of every one of them. I think that they're going to be very successful showing you what this program is really about. A student on the right, his name is Sidney Selvage. He has competed twice in the last month in a welding competition. He traveled to Missouri, and then he traveled to Southside B Branch and was offered a scholarship because he placed first in the welding competition. Again, going back to, we are a small town, but we are wanting to lead the state in showing that anything is possible when you set your mind to it, and developing these skills. College is not for everyone, but developing your soft skills into technology or skilled trade skills is going to be able to make these students more successful. Right now, besides our PPU interns, we have an intern that is a subcontractor for the USPS. So when you drive by Payneburn School, you're like, why is there a mail truck in the student parking lot? Okay. Ryan gets up early every morning and has 4 towns in the area that he has to go and pick up the mail and deliver the mail. And then he returns to school by 9 o'clock. He goes to class all day until 2:30, and then he has to go back to Searcy, pick up what needs to be picked up and delivered to the area schools that way. This is the first year that he has been at Payneburn, and the reason why he wanted to come to Payneburn was because his schedule was going to be flexible so that he could do this internship and make some pretty good money, because there are more and more students that are having to support their families, and he does that. We have a student that just started an internship at Cowboy Chevrolet. Never would have thought this student would have loved being a salesperson. He loves vehicles. The the owner or the manager of the Cowboy Chevrolet said this guy is unbelievable in an interview, and he's 18 years old. He says this boy is going to go a long way. And Tyler only needed 2 classes to graduate. He was trying to find something to do during the day, and so when this internship came along, you know, it was just an answered prayer for all of us because he has so much potential. We have another student who is learning to become a mechanic at Greenway. He comes to school 1 day a week for 3 hours and works the rest of the time at Greenway. They are training him to become certified. They're going to also send him through ASU-BB through the John Deere program. This is a student that in the 9th and 10th grade, his parents were pulling their hair out because he didn't want to come to school. This is stupid. I'm just going to become a mechanic like my dad, make lots of money. Why do I have to be here? So when he was at the end of his 10th grade year, I met with him and his parents and I said, this is what's coming up. But Jacob, you have to come to school every day. You have to pass your classes. You have to show initiative that you're going to become a good worker, that you want to be a productive citizen, and that you're going to follow through, because we're not going to put you in an internship and three weeks, 3 months down, he's not showing up. What are we going to do? We have some more that are coming with Land Defroster, one that we met through the Chamber of Commerce meeting. We have a child care program on campus. We have several that are working through that, through some government programs. They're getting paid. 90% of the internships that we have are paid internships. We have a few that are not paid, but it's given our kids to have a chance to put something on their resume showing that they have some skills. One of the programs that it talks about in peak performance is giving back to the community, and community involvement is key in whatever you do, whether it's through FBLA, Beta, United Way. A lot of companies ask that their employees do community involvement. Our Beta Club at Payne this year chose to decorate the town, showing school spirit. We are not a football school, but we are a very strong basketball, baseball, softball school, and we are proud to be Tigers, so we want to show that through our community involvements. They went through, we're an old railroad town. They went through, cleaned windows, did some displays with tiger paws and red and white. Okay. They're actually going to compete in national beta this year in Savannah, Georgia. Okay. The next community involvement has to do with, okay. Is our FCCLA. Their theme this year, kind is the new cool. And with all of the bullying, just people not relating to each other, we had a sea of black and white shirts with the kind is the new cool on it. They're out actually competing at National FCCLA this summer as well. Community involvement, again, is huge at Payne. As FBLA advisor, we are working with the Community School of Cleburne County, which is special needs, and we actually held a prom for them recently. And, just giving back to the community makes you a well-rounded individual. And I think that's it. Danielle?
Good morning. My name is Danielle Marsh, and I'm a junior at Payne High School. PPU has helped me develop goal-setting practices and has taught me several techniques in creating a course of action. As a kid, I was taught organization, time management, how to have a good work ethic, and how to be respectable, stuff like that. But I would never be successful until I learned to set goals. Because of peak performance, I have learned the importance of setting goals to ensure my success. And I've also learned that in order to achieve the goals I set, I must acquire a course of action. Before taking this course, if I had a plan, it was in my head, it was never set in stone. I now know that a successful course of action is written down on a piece of paper to remind me of the commitment I have made and to keep my steps organized. You should also set a deadline, which is something I never thought about until it was brought to my attention. Today, I use these skills to set goals in extracurricular activities such as FFA, FBLA, and Beta. I use them at school and in work. For example, last semester, I set a goal to finish my Business Achievement Awards for FBLA and to study more for my concurrent classes at ASU. I also set a goal to be as active as I can be in community service because, as Ms. Atkins said, it's key in everything. At the beginning of the school year, I was determined to get a job, and after taking the initiative to fill out applications and pursue a position at a local business, I was able to use skills and mention terminology I had learned from Peak Performance to set me apart from other possible employees. And as a result, my interviewer was very impressed, and I received the job. So not only do I feel more organized and confident in what I'm doing, but more accomplished in the end. And so far, I've stuck to my course of action, and I've been successful. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Brennan Wolf, and I'm a junior at Pangburn High School. Through my time working through PPU, I have developed skills pertaining to success in the workplace. In these lessons, I have learned effective problem-solving techniques that I have applied in my own place of work. These problem-solving skills I learned gave me ways to address conflict through critical thinking, and it gave me a new vantage point of the problem at hand. These skills are not only effective at school, but also in my work. Accountability is another lesson within this program that teaches you that your problem is yours and yours alone. You can't wait for somebody else to get things done for you. I believe that this inspires initiative and motivates people, and this was noticed by my employer and my teachers. I was recently promoted to shift leader at my job, which is in part because of my developments of these soft skills. Without this program, I would not have realized the effectiveness of problem solving and the impact it can have on those around me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Andy Hansen, and I'm a current senior at Pangburn High School. So the two main skills Peak Performance has taught me is taking responsibility and organization. These skills have become essential in my life as of lately because I'm currently taking concurrent classes with our partner ASU Heber. So before PPU, I often feel like I was very unorganized and I had a hard time finding my work. Peak Performance actually gave me many tips on how to fix these issues and how to stay organized. And the other skill it has taught me is responsibility. So, like I said, these college classes, I go in there, these teachers aren't as lenient as many of my high school teachers were. They weren't relying on me. They were like, this is your work, you're getting it done, it's all you. So, Peak Performance has helped me notice how to take initiative, how to go in there and be responsible. I'm responsible for my work. Overall, I'm very thankful for PPU because without it, like I said, I would have been slacking in my college classes. I wouldn't be responsible, and I feel like I wouldn't have been as successful as I am. And I feel like this course has overall made me more prepared for life after high school.
Hi, my name is Devin Bell, and I'm a senior at Pangburn High School. Growing up on a farm taught me many soft skills like initiative and earning your way. Not everyone has developed these skills from a young age, but through PPU they would have the opportunity to learn these soft skills and many others. The soft skills taught in PPU are crucial to the lives of successful people. Thank you.
Good morning. Hello, my name is Summer Raines, and I'm a senior at Pangburn High School. This past summer, I had the opportunity to intern at the White County Courthouse with the circuit clerk. I was there for 2 weeks learning about the job skills needed to succeed within this line of work. Once I started working with Peak Performance, I started to realize these soft skills are starting to relate to the intern I was involved in. Through PPU, I have learned skills that would have benefited me greatly with the internship, including business etiquette and professionalism. If I would have known then what I know now, I would have excelled in a professional atmosphere such as the circuit clerk. Within the lessons of PPU, I've gotten a full picture of what I saw within that office. from business attire to controlled cell phone usage. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name's Kylie Huggins and I'm a senior at Payman High School. I have an advantage over many other students because I was taught soft skills at a young age. I was raised on a farm with the responsibilities of feeding, watering, and checking on the animals. Peak performance has allowed me to sharpen the skills I was taught at a young age and transfer them into the real world. This year I've taken a few college courses. This semester I'm taking human anatomy and physiology and composition too. Peak performance has encouraged me to be a responsible and well-managed student. Both on the farm and in college classes, I must be responsible. I must take action and make sure I get all my work done for the week. Time management is one of the biggest things that peak performance teaches. Time management is key to staying on track and making sure that you achieve deadlines. In the typical college class, you have several assignments to finish before the end of the week. And you must achieve those goals or you receive a bad grade. Nothing comes out of procrastinating and not doing good. So just like when assisting on the farm, you must get the most important things done first. Thank you for your time.
Good morning. My name is Tyler Vernon and I'm a senior at Payman High School. I've been taught many of the skills in peak performance from an early age, but taking the course has shown me the importance of these skills in all aspects of life. One of the lessons that I took the most from was teamwork because of its connection to sports, the classroom, and this internship. I play both softball and basketball, and teamwork is crucial to success in both of these sports. If you can't play as a team, you'll never play the best of your abilities. Also, teamwork is critical in the classroom. I've taken many online courses in my years at Payburn, and these classes require teamwork between myself and my teachers. Since they're not in the classroom with me, I have to take the important parts of teamwork, such as communication and taking initiative, and apply them to my classes. Finally, I've learned a lot about teamwork through this internship. I was a part of the original group of interns that worked with Paul last year to help develop Peak Performance University, and through strong collaboration, we conducted interviews, wrote content, and made activities that are included in each of the 81 peak performance lessons. Had I not learned these essential skills, such as teamwork, I would not have been as successful in these aspects of my life. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Macy Hopkins, and I'm a junior as well as a student athlete at Payburn High School. My plans after graduating are to attend the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville and to get a degree in sports medicine. Through Peak Performance University, I have learned many valuable lessons which I use at present and will also be able to use in my college and in my adult life. One of the skills taught through this lesson is how to become a leader. True leadership is the ability to influence people to receive a better result. Taking initiative is one of the other key points in applying yourself to this role. On the basketball court, I have the opportunity to show leadership to my teammates by staying positive in all situations and by always encouraging others to give 110% no matter what the outcome. Another characteristic of being a good leader is learning how to set goals. Through PPU, my leadership skills have been enhanced and sharpened. Thank you.
Hi, good morning. I'm Mackenzie Landis, and I'm a senior at Payburn High School this year. So throughout the course of my senior year, Peak Performance has really helped shape in the way that it has went. I plan on attending Arkansas State University in the fall and majoring in mass communication. So basically, in order to be an effective communicator, you must also be good at listening. So Peak Performance has a whole unit dedicated to listening. When it comes down to it, most people listen just to figure out what they're going to respond to a situation, instead of listening just to hear what the person is saying. Peak Performance has taught me the importance of that and how crucial it is to be a good listener. When it comes to diversity and difference in the workplace, we've noticed that many people tend to cower away from it instead of uniting together with diverse subjects, in their life. Instead of uniting together and creating a big teamwork and collaboration, we cower away from it instead. But peak performance reminds us that teamwork is crucial to success, and employers are looking for people that are able to unite together, to work together, and who have developed listening skills that are crucial for success. So we thank you for your time here, and we hope that you guys have all had a good understanding of what we're doing here.
Okay, so Commissioner, to you and your team, so that's Penguin. That's impressive, huh? That's impressive, and we sure do appreciate that opportunity. So great job to these young people. That makes me real happy. It really does. I know we're about to wrap up, but if we have a moment, we wanted to make sure we were available for any questions that you might have. So please, the floor is open for any questions. And come on, yes, Mr. Rowland and Mr. Collette, Ms. Atkins, are there any questions from anyone? Yep, especially these students. Not all at once. Yes. Go ahead.
So I want to ask any of the students that might want to that have a good example of this. So in the description of what y'all do at lunch and the steps to success and all those things, can you tell me a story of a student that you have contacted through this effort that you've seen a change, or they have espoused a change in their outlook on school, the number of friends they have, their just attitude in general? Can any of you tell us, give us an example of, you don't have to give names, but just, is there a story you'd like to share with us?
Yeah. Okay. So when we first started the lunchroom project, obviously we were all kind of skeptical about it, or skeptical because, we didn't, we weren't sure how to get out of our comfort zones and, meet new people. But the first time, it was Summer and I, we actually took the initiative, got up, and sat with someone who was sitting alone. I didn't know her, we didn't know her, but we've seen her around, so we sat down, we asked her, can we sit with you? And at first she was like, I guess. And so we explained, I was like, I'm Mackenzie, this is Summer, and we told her kind of what we were doing, but just going to try to get to know her. She ended up telling us, she was really active in band. She loved, she was about to go try out for, All Region, and how she was nervous for that. And I kind of talked to her about how when I did that with choir, and kind of related to her. And so it's like every time we see her in the hallway now, it's like, hey, and we remember, that one time we sat together, and if we were ever in a situation where she was alone or I was alone, we could instantly just link up, and because of that introduction and because of the lunchroom project. So, about it. I don't want to touch it.
So I don't know if this is going to be a question or a directive. So I'm the Director for Family and Community Engagement here at the department. And so I would absolutely love to partner with you guys in helping us create the standards for family and community engagement in the state. So I guess I will, instead of saying you will, please, will you join us?
You want to respond?
We would love to.
There you go. I'll meet you at the class.
Yes, ma'am. Looking forward to it. Any other questions?
Anybody else? Deb?
I would like to know how what you're learning is being talked about in your community.
Well, first of all, Painburn's a small school, like we said, so there are a lot of parents and visitors that walk in and out every day, and they always see the hallway. And since we are a school of innovation now, we have a lot of visitors from other schools around the community. And I'm always walking from class to class or something, and someone will stop me from the community and ask me, like, what's going on in the hallway, and I'll tell them, and them sometimes being related with the business, they'll tell me, like, that's great. We need that in our community. I have interviewed at 2 local businesses, and they've personally asked me about it and how they feel that it's helped me, and they always say, well, I wish we would have had that, I wish I could have learned that when I was in school. And I know several parents have mentioned to me at parent-teacher conferences or sporting events or something that know that I'm a part of this internship, and they always tell me, how exciting it is that Payneburn is doing something new and that it's helping, their children and friends around the community. So.
I was going to say, any of you, if you have a good answer for that, you might have a different perspective. So we don't want to miss the opportunity. Anybody else? Yeah, Don.
Sure. I'm really curious. I know that you're all juniors and seniors. How is school different now than it was whenever you were in the 9th grade?
Who wants to take that one? Hey, the ladies are beating y'all.
Okay, well, with being the School of Innovation, I don't know, many of y'all might have heard of a flex class where, I go to school on Mondays and Tuesdays and I do math, English, just the regular classes. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I have flex days, and I can do whatever, I can go to wherever class I want to go, or I can go do what I want to do. When I graduate, I'm going to go play softball at a college. So in my flex time, if I already have my math and science and all that done, I can go straight to softball and go ahead and start working on what I want to do, or do extra college classes to get ready for after high school. So, School of Innovation, it's great to have all those cool classes, and you get to do what you want to do when you're doing good. So, thank you.
Well, anybody else? Last one. Anybody? Okay. Paul, to turn it back to you, or you
We'll just wrap this up, and thank you, Commissioner. So on behalf of the administration and the student interns from Payneburn, Commissioner, and to your team, thank you very much for allowing us to step in today and share with you some specifics of what's going on in Payneburn, and to Deputy Director Turner, to you and your team. I know it's been a journey. We do appreciate the commitment. It's an honor to get to partner with all of you, and thank you for your time today. And if you have any questions, we'll be around. Thanks a lot.
All right, we're getting that picture now. Let's do it.
You can face it.
All right.
So on stage up there, that way you get the board.
You want to sit?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kathy. Sorry about that. Okay, so we have one more presentation, but I want to thank the Payneburn team. Fantastic. Mr. Rowland, you could, give him another hand. I want you to think about that conversation that Mr. Rowland had with that business owner, and how many similar conversations have taken place around the state of Arkansas. And the response might not have been the same. and I know this happens. I know for a fact that many times, there's we really need to do something about that, but Mr. Rowland did something about that. And so, David, that's awesome. Great job to your team. Fantastic. I just want you to think about, had we, had the young man in Florida at some point had, this type of interaction, what difference would that have made in his life? What difference would it have made in the lives of all these, other tragedies, whether they be the opioid issue that we have, suicide issue, school shooting issues, or just the failure for some of our students to thrive that does not end up in that type of a tragic situation. But because of these kids saying, hey, I'm going to reach out to my classmates or my fellow student that I don't know, what kind of impact is that going to have? I hope that you can see from this presentation how some of our work here at SPM, obviously Kim Wright understood it because she's already wanting to put them to work. So I hope we all can see how these things fit together so well. And I know that Ms. Lamb and team are working on a number of these things. So Lori, come on up and fill us in on these milestone updates. Do you have do we need to get you a PowerPoint fired up?
That's what I'm waiting for.
Okay, all right.
Do you have it?
There you go.
Thank you. I don't think anyone should have to follow a group like that ever. Young people, we are so excited to see what's happening, and I think Pangburn is going to be quite pleased as they continue to hear what they're doing and what Dr. Turner has offered through the internships. We have been so excited. In Arkansas, we are doing lots of things to create student-focused education and leading the nation. A lot of words were interchanged that you were sharing as far as soft skills and the relationships. And what we've done is we have looked at Commissioner Key's goals, and goal number 3 is personal competencies. So if you could take everything that these wonderful presenters had said previously, and when you heard soft skills and some different terminology, think of that kind of just related with personal competencies. The reason is, who would not want someone to have every one of those skills, to be personally competent? When you learn the lessons to go before an employer and you were able to express yourself, you were able to, I love the idea when she said, have monitored cell phone usage. That is what's happening with our young people today, and that's an issue, and the quicker you can get that word out, the better it's going to be. We have a very short presentation that was created for a national presentation in Chicago last week. It was part of the CASEL Collaborative, and CASEL is the collaboration of academic, social, emotional learning, and we're part of one of 25 states. They were pretty excited. We're pretty excited. Personal competencies are something everybody from preschool or birth all the way up has to learn. Personal competencies are communication, and communication is not just verbal, it's nonverbal. It's picking up on those clues, those keys, that eye contact. It's also written communication. Yesterday I was visiting with Thomas Coy, and he was talking about the DECA competition and how important the written communication is. So students, if I would have asked you a question, it would have sounded something like this. How do all of those skills, you were calling them soft skills, we're saying personal competencies, how do those enhance, blend, or improve your academic performance? And I'm seeing quite a few of you nod your heads. One of the questions we have had ultimately is, how does this fit in the whole picture? And I promise you, I had not planned on being this wordy. I just keep waiting for the the slideshow to come up.
It's not going to come up right at this moment.
And it's
Gotta get a password.
okay, and it's not going to come up. So let me punt for just a moment, because that's what we do in situations like this, and ask you to look at the draft that's before you. This says personal competencies, and it describes what we're looking at in Arkansas. I'm going to do a little silly thing here, and it is, I'm going to say something and I want you to say it back to me. We're going to practice. You said you don't have a football team. However, you have basketball, baseball. I certainly heard softballs in the house. Congratulations. Keep that up. I'm going to say a little bit of a chant, and I want you to repeat it after me. RRSSS. RRSSS. With a little bit more enthusiasm. RRSSS. 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 That is basically our personal competencies in Arkansas, and we can stop and we can be done right now. R is, it's the bookends. We have to start with relationship skills, and we end on the other side with responsible decision making. In the middle, SSS, self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness. RRSSS. You may not have known what the 5 were, but hopefully before we leave you will. RRSSS. One more time. RRSSS. Think of it as bookends. We start with relationship skills. We build to responsible decision making. We fill in the gaps with self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness. I can tell you every one of the students talked about that. They talked about knowing what their time restraints were, knowing what their expectations were, the importance of building a written plan. We'll talk more about the personal competencies next week. I'm going to punt to my supervisor here. We have people prepared to talk about the slides, but without the slides up, I don't. Oh, they are. No.
She's in a presentation.
So if you will look at the draft that you have before you and think about the group that you represent, the division, the agency, and your primary focus, as you're going through that, see if there's something that we're missing. This is a draft because it's a project being developed, and that's what we're doing. We are taking all of the things that we heard from PPU. We're taking all the things that we heard from the commissioners walk through the state with everybody, and they were saying they really would like to know that our students, when they graduate, have these skills, personal competency skills. Very good. This is it, ladies and gentlemen. And we do have a team. Will the rest of the actors and actresses please join me at the stage?
This is a teachable moment for the students. Persistence.
May we always welcome opportunities to teach. In Arkansas, our teachers, our educators, are very similar to jewelers. Each one of us is trying, that has a moving part on it. On the bottom it has a, thank you. Each one of us in Arkansas is trying to help fulfill the absolute potential from all of our students. We are diamonds, we're diamonds in the rough, and as we develop, we learn more things. Next slide. Thank you. The goals are written before you in your draft form. It basically is that all of our students will be able to have these personal competencies that will promote learning and success in life, that they will be prepared for college, career, community engagement, and all of the outcomes will be seen in the faces of our young people that were before me. All of those things are encompassed in our personal competencies.
I don't think I'm not.
I think it's me. It's third slide.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Rowland talked about the changing landscape in education where teachers are responsible for teaching these personal competencies and how important that is. Just to reiterate that very important piece for us to consider in our thinking around personal competencies is how will adults engage students in those meaningful conversations. And as personal competencies begin to enhance our student-focused learning systems, adults will engage and guide students as they answer those questions of who am I, what do I know, how will I learn, and what will I learn.
So here's the model that we have in our state, and what you'll see in the middle of this, we have infused ASCD's whole model in there. So the whole model represents the whole school, the whole community, and the whole child. So what we just heard this morning is totally encompassing all this, and I just want to read. They have 5 tenets. 2 of them are related to health of the students and the health, the space of the school district. But tell me if you didn't hear all this morning. Each student is actively engaged in learning and is connected to the school and a broader community. Each student has access to personalized learning and is supported by qualified, caring adults. Each student is challenged academically and prepared for success in college or further study and for employment and participation in a global environment. That's what we have. You guys nailed it this morning.
So some of you may be wondering, what is this going to actually look like? So throughout the draft, this is just one little snippet of what we have in there for you. But for self-awareness, as a multifaceted Arkansas graduate, I am, and y'all tell me if these are kind of going along with what y'all were talking about, I am an articulate, cross-cultural communicator. I am growth-minded, curious, and inquisitive. I am reflective, and I am resourceful. And then there's some little points that go under that to actually explain it a little further. We also have this for your Arkansas teacher and Arkansas administrator, the multifaceted, and we have them for all 5 areas.
And we have a few significant accomplishments and professional development supports that we would like to also share with everyone today for both internal and external support and work that has occurred over the last 2 years with the efforts that we have put forth with Goal 3, personal competencies within our strategic performance management processes. And one significant accomplishment is that you have now cross-divisional, cross-unit, cross-agency, and you have stakeholders that are now a part of the conversations regarding personal competencies. Monthly meetings are reoccurring. They occur every Wednesday before First Fridays, such as the last meeting was this week on Wednesday. And during the meetings, you'll see professional learning, sharing of tools and resources across agencies. You'll see a dive into resources and tools so that more learning can occur regarding how we can actually provide better supports and services across the state. Clarifying common definitions and common vocabulary, common practices, and common strategies. And considering that messaging, over 800 counselors plus additional educators were actually engaged in conversations to develop the tool that you have in your hands today. So practitioners and the voice of practitioners, such as what we heard today, were utilized to be able to develop the competency components that you see in your hands. And every component includes the strategies of cognitive, metacognitive, social, emotional, and motivational strategies as you're looking at the social awareness and the reflectiveness and so forth within the process moving forward during those meetings. When we're looking at also the maintenance of student-focused mindset changes, We're looking at personal competencies as the central part of this transition. And whether this was intentional or not within our strategic performance management plan, but Goal 3 is in the center of our plan. It is the central part of our supports for our students. We have our preparation for graduation. We have our growth procedures to be able to get our students where we can get them as far as we can get them to go. Our personal competencies to look at how we can motivate students to move as far as we can possibly get them to go. Then we're looking at how we can be successful beyond graduation, and last but not least, how each and every 400-plus employee in the department or the agency, in addition to agencies and regional supports, can actually do the same thing with the messaging of the importance of personal competencies. We're looking at the pace of learning and maturing. We're looking at the path of learning. We're looking at the place and time of learning. And we're making sure that our level of learning as educators and experiences just as students and teachers are moving forward as well in our next steps. And we've had multiple presentations that have occurred throughout our nation, beyond our nation, across our state. We had a team that actually visited New Zealand with the Office of Innovation for Education and Learning Services, to just mention a few, that went to go and look at effective practices and look at certain strategies that could actually be implemented in the state of Arkansas and see what it looked like. What we most appreciated with this team was that we were actually able to look at the blog in real time, but then to be able to reflect on what that actually looked like into the schools within New Zealand. Then we were also able to represent in national conferences that was mentioned just a moment ago in initiatives such as CASTLE, presentations related to personal competencies, and share that. We have been able to look at, in the Office of Innovations for Education Summit, the opportunity to see the focus on personal competencies. We had the alternative ed team. We had the Office of Innovation and Education and LEA practitioners actually focusing on, in those sessions in the summit, on personal competencies. And then last but not least, next week, in the National Alternative Education Association Conference, we'll have another team that's actually sharing the principles for personal competencies in the guide that you have in your hands today. And this afternoon, we'll continue. The personal competency team will meet with the communications team to start looking at how the outcomes can actually be action-based to move into internal conversations and further external action-based conversations on branding, communication, initiative outreach, and to expand the Goal 3 opportunities. And then looking into the future accomplishments, messaging for the internal staff, unpacking what has been learned over 2 years, being able to share what lessons have been learned with the current reality and bridging the gap of where we want to go with personal competency supports. And then looking at how we're able to message that in our everyday work. When we work with Chamber of Commerce and their strategic planning development, working with our LEAs, working with our schools, and then helping teachers to be able to better support students, because personal competencies happen as close to the student as possible.
Thank you. In closing, we would like to thank everyone for giving us this opportunity to express thanks to our Pangburn champions and PPU and all of your work. Mr. Vitale, thank you for what you're doing in our state and in our nation. We're excited to begin to share more and more about personal competencies. You are welcome to communicate with us. The draft that you're looking at is actually in the working documents under a new folder that is labeled personal competencies, so you can find it if you want to send some suggestions, doctor it up a bit, give us some ideas. It's right there at your fingertips. We appreciate you, we thank you, and we're excited.
Wow, great job, team. That's a lot of work, but so worth it. Hope you got a lot out of this presentation or these presentations today. Anytime we can bring students in, I think it's a great day. I know you all have different team meetings and all planned, so I hope this energizes your work through the rest of the day. And thank you all. Appreciate you being here and for all the dedication that you show to our work. Have a great weekend, and we will see you next month.